Hi, Stacy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When am I ever going to learn? Hit record. Like we connect. We should just hit record. I'm with Stacy Ennis, and we have already not recorded so much good stuff that we're going to play catch up here. And basically we're trying to narrow down the 47 things we could talk about to just a small handful that we will actually be able to cover. So welcome, Stacy. It's great to have you.
Bradley, I'm so excited for this conversation. It's going to be great.
And so the reason I'm so excited to talk with you, just to get this out here really quickly, is I really see you and your program. I'm so excited about you and your programs because they are a perfect jumping off point for people from my programs to go to yours. And just to briefly give it my perspective, I see and my work has evolved over recent years where I really am focusing and niching down more with the breaking through, getting started, crashing through ceilings, and beginning and starting and daring and asking and all of this early on stuff. And yet then people, the ones who break through and have the success in the early stages, they'll often say, great, Bradley, so I've gotten through the early stages. Wow, I never thought I'd do that. Awesome. And now I'm ready for the next part. And if we're talking about writing books, then they want that help from me. And they want the stuff that I wrote down about you. They want structure and tools and a step-by-step process. I'm like, help. Because I realize my heart is really in those early stages. That's just my fun zone. So I really want to talk about your programs and how they could really help my audience then the ones who want to go further have an opportunity to go with you. So that's
yes.
That's how I kind of see things, right, with our connection and what you're doing. So let's talk about what you are offering. Let's say they were in my Worst Book Ever program or some 30-day challenge I'm running. I'm really into create. I want you to just force the creation. And I make a big distinction between creativity and creating. It's really about doing, making, just getting this stuff out. And then sifting through that and learning from that process to then break through and go further. But then to go further, that's where I see you come in. So, Stacy, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to stop.
So good though. I love what you do because we were talking about this. I think we'll say this phrase a bunch of times today before we hit record. We were talking about how hard it is to start. And for many people, writing a book or any big goal, anything, pick any goal that you have, whether it's, changing careers, writing a book, moving somewhere new, trying a new sport, anything. Yeah. It's that first thing that you do, like that first day that you sit down and do it. That's really the hardest. So what's so cool about your program is that you've already taken care of that, right? You've helped people already overcome all of the internal blocks that they have to just sitting down and beginning to write. And then what the opportunity is for your students, the people that participate in your challenge, your, Worst Book Ever, is they can continue that momentum, right? And if they're feeling that draw to keep creating, then what? And that's where the systems come in.
Yeah. Yeah. The systems to then, especially like in my speak, it's like, yes, I'm admitting it's a joke and we're going to write your worst book ever. And if that's good enough for you, if you say, that was super fun, Bradley, thanks so much. I had a great time. And I realize I actually want to be a plumber. That's great, because I also find that is also a beneficial result because you realize, wow, that was awesome. Don't want to do that anymore. Right? Yes. That's awesome. I mean, to learn what you don't want clearly and not sit there and dream about something you think you may want because that's like society tells you you're supposed to want that or something. But learning that, I really don't like doing that. awesome, we're done, and you're happy, we're all happy, and you can move on. But then there's others who say, whoa, thank you so much. I've taken these first steps, and now I want more. Now I want, for example, a real nonfiction book. Like, gee, this nonfiction book might actually help my business. This could help my brand. This could help a lot of things that I don't even know about yet. And that's where I see you coming in.
Yeah. So should I talk a little bit about how that works, how that process works?
Yes, please.
First of all, I just want to echo what you said in that a lot of people will engage in something like Worst Book Ever or one of your 30-day challenges, and they'll unlock something within them that says, oh, actually, like I could do that. I realize I can accomplish this thing that's, was maybe even a quiet dream that I like, a latent dream that I didn't really fully embrace because I didn't think I could do it. And then you start to think about, oh, okay, if I did do this, if I did write this book and publish it, what could the beyond the book look like? And to your point, it's an incredible marketing tool for a business, and marketing in a real connected way with potential clients, potential audience that you can reach, people you can impact. For some people, it's also a catalyst to speaking or even launching a business. Maybe you want to make that transition from corporate into running a consulting business, and it's an amazing catalyst for that in the journey that you take and really in launching that. So definitely want to echo that. We see a lot of that in my program, Nonfiction Book School, and also with people that I work one-to-one as a book coach as well. So my program and the system that I use the system actually holistically in my business. So whether it's my team that's ghostwriting a book, or it's coaching an author through the process one-to-one, or they're in Nonfiction Book School, the program, I follow a creation and production framework that I've designed. And it really has been a very iterative system that I started working on back when I was a book editor many years ago. And then as I wrote each of the books that I've ghostwritten, so I've written, I've authored or co-written 17 books to date. And then I've edited dozens and coached dozens of authors as well. So through all of that, I created this system that really takes you from idea to draft. And what it isn't is a book in a box. So you're not going to come in and follow this exact formula to write the same book as everyone else. What it actually is an idea organizing system, really, and a lifestyle design system. Those are the two things that I really teach people. So one is we come together, I lead you through this amazing workshop that I love so much that uses a lot of sticky notes, and we get to engage in a brain dump and begin grouping by theme and begin building out a book outline. I have also some pre-work actually before that in my program on your vision, so that you're able to really think deeply about the big vision. Because I believe that a great book is a catalyst for something. So we want to understand, what is it a catalyst for in your life? And then that also helps you determine what that book is going to be. So we work through that, and then through the education that I offer, and I'll talk pretty high level, Bradley, so we can dive in where you want to. I teach on some of the things that you need to know to be able to write a book. How do you structure a book? What are some writing strategies that you need to know in order to write well, like to write a good book? How do you plan for success? So I have, I use Asana, which is a project management system, and I actually train my authors on how to use this for their book, and I give them a template, and I teach them how we do math. I teach them how to plan out the whole project and set real deadlines. I train on the editing process so that they understand how editing factors into their writing process. It's a very freeing thing for authors when they understand the editing process, because they realize that, kind of in the way that you nurture them through Worst Book Ever, it's this idea that, like, the first draft is really about getting words on a page, and I can remove the pressure. So I help with that education around that, and also understanding how to find professional editors, how to vet them, what are questions that you ask, what can you expect to pay? We talk through all that stuff. Yeah. And then I also have a publishing module that covers the 3 main types of publishing. And then alongside that, we have weekly coaching over 10 weeks, and we have this amazing, robust community of phenomenal authors. So there's that piece of it that really is very supportive. And I'm there. I'm like right in it with you. And I know you, I know about your book, and I'm accessible. So is my team.
Yeah. I love the group aspect. I think that's what I remember when I was running Worst Book Ever again, and I asked some of the people who had previously joined, and this one woman, I knew she was super busy, and I even knew she was changing stuff in her business and had a whole lot of stuff going on. And I told her, I said, hey, we're running Worst Book Ever again. I'm sure you're too busy, so just wanted to let you know. She's like, no. Are you kidding? She's like, that's fun stuff for me. That's creation. And the community is so fun and so collaborative. She's like, no, I want in. I was so surprised. And also, like what you're saying, I love that you have a 10-week limit. It's not, oh, when does it start? Whenever, and when does it finish? Oh, never.
Yes.
Those 2 things are never going to happen. And so 10 weeks starts then, ends here, and there's a community. I just think those are the elements to actually make it a success.
That's awesome. I agree. It's powerful. It's been so cool to see, when I launched this, so we're just about to open our 4th cohort. So it's 4 years. Wow. And when I launched it for the first cohort, I was really unsure about how this, I knew the system. I had taught every version, I taught every piece of it from 1-to-1 to audiences of several hundred to, I tested all the system. I knew it worked, but I wasn't sure about the community. I wasn't sure how that would come together, and I wasn't sure how it would come together online. And what's been so cool is seeing pictures of, students that traveled from their individual states to meet up with each other, or some that partner on their book launches and really support each other as they launch their books, some that have formed business relationships, and there's just all of these really cool results that come out of that only humans can create together. It's not something that I can just design and like wave a writerly wand and make happen. It has to come together naturally. What we do is provide the environment. And I think because I would say I show up fully, as does my team, and we care deeply. And I think that builds a sense of trust and care within the community as well.
Yeah. The community is so important. I remember I was so surprised. People they'd be commenting on each other's stuff early on. They didn't even know each other. And they said, oh, you're stuck with that? I can help you with that. And there was one woman, she was making covers for people. And there was one woman, she was, I'd proofread yours for you. Like, oh, I was like on the sidelines, like having popcorn. I'm like, wow. Cool.
That's so great. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it was really cool. But the idea of the community that I like so much is, this is probably a personality type thing a little bit, but just the idea of the unexpected. You can't, herding cats, right? You can't know exactly what's going to happen. And yet I see that as a positive, right? You're going to go into this group, and I don't know who's going to be there. It might be someone I don't get along with too well, might be a future business partner, but you're not going to know unless you join. And then also, just like you can also stay in the back of class and never say a word and never raise your hand. That's possible, but it's the typical, the more you put in, the more you'll get out.
Yes.
So
yes, 100%. Yeah. And to your point, I think, well, I guess to our earlier discussion, I should say, I think you've created you as a human have also created that space with how you show up for the people that are in your programs. Yeah. And that's powerful because you are creating the culture of that community. And then it's like it's flowering and blossoming around you.
Yeah. I remember there was, I got a note once from a woman in the group, and she was saying, "Oh no, I'm behind." And she didn't say yet what she was going to do. And of course, there's a couple options. She's going to say, "Oh no, I'm behind, so I give up." Or, "Oh no, I'm behind." And she said, "I better catch up." And I thought that was really cool because someone in the group had said, "Oh, whatever, I did my cover." And so there's a couple thoughts. You could think, "Oh no, this other person did the cover and I didn't. Oh no, I'm behind. I'm leaving." But I think the feeling of the community was so collaborative and cooperative, and we're a team, and come on and pulling each other up, that she
Mm-hmm.
felt, no, I can do this. And if she can do the book cover, I can do the book cover. And that
Mm-hmm.
was really fun and really cool. And I would think in your atmosphere, your environment is also a collaborative, or at the very least cooperative, and at the very least not competitive atmosphere.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think there's also something about seeing people achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I hosted an author celebration, author learnings and celebrations. So we'd had an author who just published his book. He had a really successful launch, hit bestseller in his category. So excited for him. And so he was able to come and really, he'd had his launch party the day before. So he was really excited coming into that event. And so we learned some of what he learned on his journey. And then 3 other authors who've been through the program shared their learnings. And man, I remember when I was dreaming of writing a book and really looking at the people who had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish and just trying to soak in everything I could of how did they do that? Like, how did they, well, it wasn't just the book. For me, it was the broader scaling of impact and trying to understand, how do you go from what at the time I was working one-to-one on client projects, how do I go from that to reaching readers and reaching people with my ideas? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And so we were talking again before we hit record about the breadth of an author's experience and the many things that are even beyond writing that draft. And that's where I think the community really is rich in, hey, I had this launch party and here's the strategy I used to, create buzz. Or, I had somebody that did a virtual launch. And so others were able to watch that and see what they did and what worked. They'll talk about the publishers that they're working with, and they'll share what they spent on things. People are really open about that piece of it. What they're investing in marketing, what type of marketing they're doing, how they're launching it. So there's those pieces. Even though my program is idea to draft, that's where my expertise is, in the writing process, helping people write a fantastic, amazing, incredible book.
Yeah.
The community and our collective wisdom and experience helps continue to support beyond that milestone.
Yeah. So that's a good point to get into, because you're not talking about finish the book and now we're into marketing and publishing and all that stuff, where you say idea to draft. So that draft, is that done then? Is that like edited and done and ready to go to a potential publisher or agent or something? Or what like level of draft?
So I provide the education that somebody would need to have a fully completed draft through proofreading, so that I teach them how to write the draft. I walk them through building this new skill set of book writing. So when you leave my program, you now have a new skill. You can do this again if you would like to. You have a new skill that you've developed. And then I also provide the education so that they understand, okay, now the draft is done, and here's what I need to do next to get this into a place where I can publish it. And then I provide high-level education on publishing as well. So what are the 3 types of publishing? What are some questions that you can ask? What are some, I actually go through like, here are pros and cons of each of these types of publishing. And then in the coaching conversations, people will really even bring in, hey, I met with this publisher, name the publisher, and this is what they told me. Is this, what should I think about this? And I'll help them think through that. They'll come and say, hey, I got this estimate from an editor that was X amount of dollars or euros or whatever. Is that a fair rate? And we'll talk through that. So there's that piece of it through coaching. I'm able to further support. But I used to be an editor, a book editor. And so I also bring that to these conversations and helping them understand what those next steps are. We also have in the program, I have an editing checklist so they can, it's kind of like a self-diagnostic tool that they can say, okay, these are the things that I need. So when they go to meet with an editor, they can use the right industry language to have a smart conversation with them. And then I also give them advice on how do you, like, don't pay it all up front. I suggest hiring a chapter edited before you engage in a full book project, but please don't ask for it for free because these people have to feed their families, that kind of stuff. In helping them understand how do you take that next step, and where do I also go for more information? So I provide a lot of additional resources. And then I also have, I think it's at least 10, but I think I might have added another one. I can't remember the exact number at this moment. Expert trainings with, I have a couple publishers, branding experts, marketing experts, public speaking experts, a couple of New York Times bestselling authors, one who's self-published and one who's a ghostwriter. And so I have, and then a bunch from real authors who share their journeys and what they learned. So there's that additional component of the education that's a little bit outside of scope, that idea to draft, but I just want to make sure that they have a lot to work with and to learn from and to feed their exploration as they continue to learn more.
So you're talking about sort of steps and phases, and I'm thinking, like when people come into something like Worst Book Ever or a 30-day challenge, and again, I'm targeting sort of writers less and less. I'm looking more just at the breakthrough for anything. But of course I get a lot of writers because I'm a writer at heart. But then especially with the Worst Book Ever, and the idea, and I love bringing in people who have doubts about writing, don't even have goals of writing necessarily. Sometimes those are like the secretly better potential authors, the ones who sometimes haven't dreamt about it since they were 13. Because sometimes the ones who have dreamt about it forever, there's such like lofty ambition and goals that, sometimes the expectations are just sky high. And so
almost crippling in a way, because it's like it's so that fear of failure of like, I've dreamed of this forever. And what if it turns out I'm not cut out for this? And then my hopes will be dashed. There's a lot more baggage that comes into that.
Yeah. So I like the ones who have carry on only, right? Because then they're like, let's go. And they don't even know what they're like potentially not missing yet, because they're having fun still. And so especially with me, we definitely have fun in Worst Book Ever, right? And so we're having lots of fun, but then there's that light bulb moment at some point when they're like, whoa, hold on, stop the train here, because this could be something real. And what sometimes happens as well is because I often talk about the opposite book. Like I had a guy who his book was called Simplify, and he was super stuck on it forever. And I said, all right, we're going to write a new book. Here, I have a new title for you. Ready? It's called Complicate. We're going to write this book called Complicate. How do you complicate your life and, never get done with anything and blah, blah, blah. And you could just see him like light up. He's like, whoa, that's perfect. That's so much fun. And he just went nuts on it. But great. So we go off on this little detour and do this crazy book. But then, of course, he's thinking about his real book, Simplify. And then, so after we crush all those demons over there, now he's like, Bradley, now I'm ready for my Simplify book. Now I'm ready to talk to potential publishers. And could you tell me those 3 kinds again? And now I need a structure and an outline and real like writing techniques. And I'm like, help, run. And that's why exactly so much of what you're saying is so perfect. It just rolls on in perfectly with where they are, some of them, where they are when they're graduating from Worst Book Ever or a 30-day challenge and heading into potentially your world. So my question is kind of, I have this sun. It's like the sun is coming between 2 buildings over there. And it's like exactly right here.
I've seen that kind of sneak onto your face.
It'd be fun to watch on the speedy fast forward of the thing and watch it go. I'm also thankful to have sun at all today.
Yes, just soak it up. And that you have that
Um,
gland in your forehead that soaks in the vitamin D. So just take it in.
okay, I'm taking it in. Okay, so one last note then. I just kind of prepped you with where they are. They're like, whoa, I've got this idea, or oh, I had this crazy idea, but now I know my real idea.
Mhm.
Is that my question to you is sort of where is the place you'd ideally like them to be to then join you?
Yeah. We have a huge range. So I get everywhere from people who are super clear on their niche. They know exactly who their, ideal, if they're writing a business book of some kind, who their client is. They have their avatar. They know all of that. They understand they're very, even like almost micro niche. They really understand. And they know exactly the kind of book they want to write.
Okay.
I have other people that come in who I have no clue. They have like 30 books that they could rattle off, and there's not like a really clear thread between them. And they're just trusting the process. They are surrendering to the system and just like following it and just trusting that it will emerge, because I would
Okay.
say it will. It will, it will. And then I
Awesome.
get, actually, interestingly, a good number of people who are halfway done with their drafts. So, or
Ooh,
they're like maybe 20 to 30,000 words in, maybe 10.
okay.
And they had all this momentum, they got going, and then they
Yeah.
got stuck and they didn't understand why. And a lot of them realized like, oh, I don't actually know how to write a book. So I need to
Oh, I
learn
love
that.
it. I love it.
Yes. So I get a lot of those too. I've even had people come in with done drafts, but they never got any training. And so they realized that in order to revise the book, they needed to understand how to write a book. So they'll come through even with
Okay.
already written 60, 70,000 words just to get the education so that they can revise it and get it out into the world. So it's a huge range, as you can see, really,
Yeah.
really wide. Yeah.
I love that what you just said, the last part, because I'll get people writing back to me and they'll say like, "Hey, worst book ever was awesome, a few months ago, and now I'm yay, I made progress on my book." And then because I haven't been offering like what's next, I'll get
Mm-hmm.
notes and it makes me kind of sad because like, yeah, so I'm halfway or I'm almost done, but kind of stuck and not sure what to do and like, how do I write a book anyway?
Yeah,
And
sure.
those people that'd be perfect fit to come in.
Yeah. It's a skill that you have to learn. I think
Yeah.
that's where people don't really understand that writing is a skill and writing a book is a skill.
Yeah.
They're different. You
Yeah.
definitely need the skill of writing to be able to build on the skill of book writing. But it really is a unique skill set. And a unique skill set requires specific education related to that skill
Yeah.
set. Simply learning how to write or improving your writing craft is not enough to learn how to write a book. Now, I was fortunate in my journey being a book editor. I got to study books for a long time before I ever made the transition into writing my own and ghostwriting. I also have a master's degree in writing and a bachelor's degree in writing. So I've studied those
Oh,
formally. And so I did all of that. And then I took all of those decades of learning and put that into something that is a repeatable process that people can use. But again, that's not about everybody producing the same thing or doing it as quickly as possible. You are helping them do it as quickly as possible to
yeah.
unstick them and unleash them. And then
Yeah.
my message is, okay, good. Now let's take the journey. Like let's actually engage fully in this journey and go all in on the transformation that you can
Yeah.
undergo in the writing process.
Yeah.
It's going to be intense, but we're not going to be aggressive with it. We're going to focus on not blowing up your life. I want you to be able to write a book alongside your family life, your work. Yes, you might have to wake up a little earlier for a while, not forever. There are going to be some adjustments to be made, but I'm not talking about like blow everything up and do this as quickly as possible. It's
Right.
really more of a sustainable approach. And to that end, not everybody will have a completed draft in 10 weeks. Most people will have maybe 60 to 70% of their draft done and a really clear plan to finish. So they have a full outline, they have a clear writing plan, and they understand all the steps that they need to take to finish their draft. But there's never pressure from me in those 10 weeks to finish the draft. It's about consistent action over time, consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
And we all have different paces. We all have different ways that we engage in writing. We have different schedules. And so we put together a plan that works for you. And then you learn what you need to in order to execute and succeed to accomplish your goal.
Well, and like you said, you're teaching them a skill that they can use again and again.
Yes,
so it's
exactly.
Not they're done with the 10 weeks and, oh, no, I'm done. I can never do this again. No, they're done and they can take this and use it again and again forever.
Yes. And across actually all disciplines, your email writing will be faster and better. You'll be able to write articles with more confidence and ease. You'll understand structure in a deeper way. So you'll be able, rather than taking 2 weeks to write an article, for most people, that cuts down to a day, or not a full day, like a couple hours to work on a piece. Even keynotes, what I teach you, you can use to plan a keynote. You can use it to plan a presentation. You can use it to plan your business strategy for the year. So it really is that idea organization that you gain, and then the skill of book writing as well. So it's layered and complex.
I love that. Well, I love that you keep using the word skill as well, because there's often the discussion of talent and skill, and, oh, you were born with that, I'm never going to get that.
Yes.
But no, this is a skill that they can learn.
Yes.
The sun is setting here in more northern Europe than you are. It's finally like out of my eyeballs, but I have soaked it up. Thanks for the vitamin D there. And I will set the sun on our conversation, but I think it's just like the end of a day, and that we will have many more days, because as we said before we hit record, we have way too many topics to cover. And I just hope this is just one of many conversations we'll have, Stacy. It's just been
yes. Bradley, this was so great. Anybody who's in your ecosystem, I would love to support them on their journey to authorhood. You can learn more about the program at nonfictionbookschool.com. If you have a question, you can reach out to me at hello@stacyennis.com. Let me know that Bradley sent you, so I know where you're coming from. And then I also have tons of free resources on my website, by the way, at stacyennis.com/resources. I've got an ideation guide. I have a life visioning guide. I have 10 things you must know before you write your nonfiction book. I have all kinds of really valuable free resources on there.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll put all those links down below as well. Great. Stacy, this is not farewell, but until next time, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, Bradley. This was wonderful.
Bye for now.